When World War II came to its dramatic end, Saburō Sakai was a bona fide legend. The descendant of a samurai family had become arguably the best Japanese pilot in the war, with over 60 successful hits under his belt. However, the man didn't feel like a victor. The US had dropped 2 atomic bombs on top of his homeland, and all his sacrifices, including getting shot in the head during a dogfight and losing an eye, seemed to have been in vain. 2 days after the ceasefire, an urgent report came into what remained of the Imperial Japanese Navy Air Service. A group of Boeing B-29 Superfortresses, like the ones that had dropped the atomic bombs, had pierced the Japanese airspace. The mere possibility of having another Japanese city obliterated by the unspeakable American weapon made Sakai's blood boil, and he and a group of pilots did the unthinkable. They took to the skies in one last suicide mission that defied every international accord. Surprisingly, Sakai chose a Zero to face the Americans. The aircraft was practically obsolete by then, but he wouldn't have it any other way. Quote, "The Pacific War was started by the Zero, and I would want to let the Zero place its name in history as having fought that last battle." Samurai bloodline. Saburō Sakai was born into a renowned samurai family with a strict warrior tradition and an inherited reputation to uphold. The pressure many Japanese young men felt to make a name for themselves and bring honor to their houses was exponentially multiplied for the fledgling Kyushu native. Sakai's samurai ancestors played a vital role during the Japanese invasions of Korea in 1592, but after his father's passing when he was just 11 years old, he faced complete destitution. His mother now had to take care of 7 children, and the young child was soon adopted by a wealthy maternal uncle who eventually sent him to Tokyo to study at a prestigious high school. Even so, Sakai could not compete with his schoolmates from Tokyo, no matter how hard he tried. The teenager crumbled before the stern elite student life and was forced to return home, letting everyone down. Fortunately, Sakai would get the first glimpse of his future on the train ride back from Tokyo. While stopping at a train station, he saw a poster seeking recruits for the Imperial Japanese Navy, and he figured military prowess might be how he could live up to his samurai roots. 2 years later, in 1933, he enlisted at the early age of 16. Taking to the skies. Sakai started his military career as a sailor 4th class, a seaman recruit amid thousands of other young Japanese men looking to serve their country. But the samurai descendant soon stood out from the rest for his hard work, dedication, and ability to learn new skills on the fly. As a recruit, he had to endure cruel punishments from his superiors, who often beat the young men until they fainted from the excruciating pain. However, his performance continued to impress the top officials, and he soon made it to sailor 2nd class. With this, he now had the opportunity to apply for the Navy pilot training program. Sakai then discovered a fascinating inclination for piloting warplanes, graduating at the top of his class in 1937. His talent was so impressive that he was awarded a silver watch by Emperor Hirohito himself. Soon after, the Second Sino-Japanese War erupted, and the samurai pilot was immediately thrown into the fray. During his first dogfight against Chinese warplanes, the reckless young pilot disregarded his commander's orders by emptying all of his Mitsubishi A5M's ammunition upon a single target, even when his own warplane was left unusable. His defiance earned him the ire of his superiors, but the unwelcome trait would soon be overshadowed by his other, much more important quality: unwavering courage. The airbase where Sakai was stationed was suddenly air-raided in 1939. A hailstorm of fire descended upon the runway and the Japanese fighters on the ground, destroying and damaging most of them. While other pilots ran for their lives, an injured Sakai ran in the other direction. According to historical advisor Mark Barber, the samurai pilot, quote, sprinted through burning aircraft to find an undamaged fighter before taking to the skies to chase the fleeing bombers. Sakai couldn't shoot down the attacking bombers, but his selfless actions earned him a promotion to Petty Officer 1st Class and the opportunity to continue showcasing his unique skills and resolve. World War II exploits. The following months were violent. and there was no respite for the airborne samurai. His recklessness for conventional tactics and his unwavering fearlessness led him through one victory after another. Sakai participated in the attack on the Philippines in 1941 and shot down a Curtiss P-40 Warhawk during his first encounter with the Americans. Soon after, he destroyed 2 B-17 Flying Fortresses by strafing them on the ground. His success rate climbed quickly, and he became famous for his lethality and mercilessness in the air, but also for his compassion. Early in 1942, he was transferred to the Dutch East Indies, and he and his fellow pilots were given the order to shoot down any plane they encountered, armed or not. Soon, the pilot ran into a civilian Dutch Douglas DC-3, flying at a low altitude over the jungle. Sakai assumed it was transporting important people and signaled its pilot to follow him. But when the aircraft refused to comply, the Japanese pilot approached in preparation for an attack. Sakai then descended low enough to identify a blonde woman and a young child through the window. The woman reminded him of Mrs. Martin, an American teacher who had taught him as a child in middle school. He signaled the pilot to continue his way and left the aircraft alone, disobeying direct orders. He then omitted the encounter in his official report. The pilot would eventually bring down 13 additional Allied warplanes, of which 3 were reportedly shot down in the span of 15 seconds during a heated air battle during the Borneo campaign. According to Martin Caden, the co-author of Sakai's book Samurai, Sakai and his cohorts, Hiroyoshi Nishizawa and Toshio Ota, once came up with the idea of making demonstration loops over the enemy airfield. Allegedly, the trio executed 3 tight loops in close formation over the Allied base after an attack on Port Moresby. It is said that the next day, a single Allied bomber flew over the Leh airfield and dropped a note that read, quote, "Thank you for the wonderful display of aerobatics by 3 of your pilots. Please pass on our regards and inform them that we will have a warm reception ready for them next time they fly over our airfield." The squadron commander was furious and chastised the 3 pilots for their foolishness. Duel of the Aces. During the Guadalcanal campaign, Japanese and American forces clashed almost daily in a brutal struggle over Henderson Field, which had been recently captured by the Allies and was vital for Japanese success in the region. During one of such air skirmishes on August 7th, Sakai and 3 pilots came face-to-face against an F-4F Wildcat flown by Allied ace James "Pug" Sutherland. In a key moment, Sakai and Sutherland became entangled in a fierce and violent dogfight, unlike anything the samurai pilot had experienced before. Later recalling, quote, "In desperation, I snapped out a burst. At once the Grumman snapped away in a roll to the right, clawed around in a tight turn, and ended up in a climb straight at my own plane. Never before had I seen an enemy plane move so quickly or gracefully before, and every second his guns were moving closer to the belly of my fighter. I snap-rolled in an effort to throw him off. He would not be shaken. He was using my favorite tactics, coming up from under." Both aces were entrapped in a skillfully maneuvered dogfight of epic proportions. After an extended fight, in which both pilots achieved and lost the upper hand, Sakai managed to shoot down Sutherland's Wildcat and struck it below the left-wing root with his 20mm cannon. The fight had been the most challenging encounter in Sakai's career, but he didn't realize that Sutherland's guns had jammed at some point. Despite the loss of his warplane, Sutherland parachuted to safety. But after taking the American ace out of the fight, Sakai was ambushed by a lone Douglas SPD Dauntless dive bomber that managed to surprise the samurai pilot, sending a bullet through his canopy. In the end, the limber pilot managed to turn the tables and shoot down the Allied plane, marking his 60th victory. Headshot. The same day Sakai downed his 60th aircraft, he saw another air battle in the distance and decided to approach to ambush what he thought were additional Wildcats. He then went for a low-altitude surprise attack, but just when he was about to charge the enemies, he realized the Allied warplanes were actually carrier-based bombers with rear-mounted machine guns. It was too late to back down, and Sakai continued with his plan. According to his report, he then shot down 2 Grumman TBF Avengers. Even so, The retaliation fire was merciless, and the samurai warrior soon became engulfed in a storm of .30 caliber bullets, one of which pierced his head. The hit immediately paralyzed the left part of his body. His skull was cracked, and the shattered glass from the canopy embedded itself in his right eye, while his left eye was covered in blood, completely blinding him. The plane then began to plummet in shambles, but just as he descended, tears began to clear his vision in the left eye, and he managed to regain control of the aircraft with his right arm. Sakai believed it would be impossible to return to base, and considered crashing his Zero against an American ship. However, as the minutes passed, he discovered he could still fly, and ventured to make the 4-hour, 47-minute flight to Rabaul Base instead. Even so, he had to fly upside down for prolonged periods to prevent losing consciousness. When the pilot landed on the base's airstrip, he insisted on giving his mission report, after which he collapsed. He was then rushed to a hospital where he endured a long, life-saving surgery, ultimately recovering the sight in his right eye. Final missions. After recovering, the pilot spent a year training new pilots and was allowed to fly again only before the Allied attack on Iwo Jima. Sakai claimed that being able to only see in one eye did not make him any less proficient as a pilot. He demonstrated just that on June 24, 1944, when he approached a fleet of 15 U.S. Navy Grumman F-6F Hellcat fighters that he had erroneously assumed to be friendly Japanese aircraft. As the American planes engaged, Sakai was outnumbered, outgunned, and his old Zero severely outclassed. But despite every odd being against him, he demonstrated his unparalleled piloting agility and experience by eluding every single enemy attack while he actively fled the Allied warplanes. He then arrived back on base unscathed. After the ceasefire that took place after the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Saburō Sakai took part in the IJNAS's last wartime mission by intercepting 2 American bombers, thought to be Boeing B-29 Superfortresses. The Allied aircraft turned out to be reconnaissance consolidated B-32 Dominators, which were executing photo reconnaissance and testing Japanese compliance with the ceasefire. Even so, Sakai carried on with the attack, even when other Japanese fighters were forced to turn back. The samurai warrior then managed to damage one of the Allied Dominators, which he counted as another of his victories, but which was actually forced to descend and return to base. With time, the legendary warrior became a devout Buddhist, and he vowed to never hurt any living thing for the rest of his life. Thank you for watching Dark Skies. Don't hesitate to click on your screen to explore the rest of our Dark Documentaries channels, where you can find more intense battles and amazing warfare technology. We publish regularly, so stay tuned.